All right, folks, welcome to Strong for Life podcast. I'm joined with Andy Fossett from GMB Fitness. So I've been a big fan of Andy's work for many years now. I became a GMB trainer in 2016, so over 8 years ago now. And yeah, just have learned a ton from Andy, the way he approaches business. And I wanted him to really just deep dive into all things business, marketing, and pick his brain on a lot of stuff to share with you all today. So, Andy, really appreciate you jumping on today.
Sure, no problem. Always happy to share and appreciate you as well, Connor. So yeah, no worries.
Awesome, mate. Do you want to give people a quick overview, who you are? I think a lot of people have heard of GMB, but just in case they don't know what you've done and achieved to date.
Sure. I mean, primarily what I am is a receptacle for donuts. Really, this is like my real gift to the universe is if there are excess donuts anywhere, I'll make sure that they're taken care of. But what people know me for more than that is that I'm one of the co-founders of GMB, which Ryan Hurst, Jarlo Ilano, and I started in 2010. And the idea was basically just that we were doing a lot of fitness stuff, and we realized when we were teaching that the stuff people wanted us to show them was always like how to get more flexible or how to do, cool stuff like handstands or backflips and stuff like that. And we realized that there was a big gap in the fitness industry where like everything was like, lift more weight, uh, run a faster mile, like run longer, all that kind of stuff. And CrossFit had like just started picking up. So we were teaching stuff that was really like aligned with that. And I think that, we really just helped a lot of people understand that there was more to being a fit, healthy human. So that's really what I do is I've done a lot of the sort of pedagogical side of things, aligning these things, packaging them up in a way that we can teach. And then also I, for better or for worse, am the guy in charge of the actual company side of things. So that's what I do.
Awesome, man. Like 14 years is a very long time, not saying you're old. But like you must have seen so many people come and go, 2, 3, 4 years. I think the stats like 80% of coaches are gone in 5 years. So for you guys over this timeline, like how have you really focused on knowing what to double down on versus like ignore a new trend versus, oh, we need to actually really upskill in this area because this is going to be important in the future?
Yeah, it's tough because I mean, there are definitely people that have gotten bigger than us. There are many business people that are savvier than I am, many people that are more successful than us. So I mean, any kind of advice I would have to give, you should take with a grain of salt. But I think that what we've done really well is we knew why we got into business. We know still, and it's the same thing it was 14 years ago. The reason that we do this is primarily so that we can have the freedom to enjoy our lives and to take care of our families, right? We have the assets to take care of our families, and we have the freedom to live the way that we want to live. What that meant in the beginning was that Jarlo was in Hawaii and was about to move to Seattle. I was in Japan and was about to move to Hawaii, and Ryan was in Japan, right? So we knew from the beginning that we had to make this company work with us in different places. So we've been fully remote since way before that was a term anyone used. So that's one thing is we set up all of our business practices, all of our hiring, all of our team practices around that. So it's one thing. And that like when it came time for like, when we had the pandemic and stuff like that, and when we've had technology change, we've been ahead of the curve on that because we learning how to work this way is kind of baked into our DNA. So like that's one thing. But more importantly, just knowing what we're doing, knowing why we're doing it, makes us able to make decisions that fit us. We're not necessarily trying to make the biggest company. We're trying to help people, but we don't have some kind of arbitrary goal like help 1 million men over 30 end joint pain. Like, who cares if it's 1 million or 900,000? If you help 900,000 people and fall short of 1 million, like that's still amazing, right? And we didn't have a goal to teach like millions of people, but we have videos that have been watched many millions of times, and so it's really, that's pretty humbling too. But the main thing is just like we're here to do a specific thing. So we don't have to jump on trends. We don't have to do stuff that everyone else is doing. From a business perspective, it's really easy to look at what other people are doing, the business decisions they make, the products they make, the marketing they do, and think, oh, I should do that. Oh, it looks like everyone's doing this. Oh, everybody's jumping to TikTok now. Oh, everybody's doing a dancing, pointing at different sections of the screen with words on it because that's trending right now. I mean, I don't, you might get more engagement for a day, but the fact is, the people that you see doing all these things, they don't know what they're doing any better than you do. And I think that that's something that we've kind of just intuitively known. We're not trying to copy trends. We're trying to make the thing that we want to make.
Yeah, was there anything maybe more so in the earlier days? Like you seem like after 14 years, I'm guessing much more sure of things, but was there any stuff that
Right.
you feel maybe you wanted to pursue and then in hindsight it was a good decision not to, or vice versa?
Oh, definitely. I mean, we've always been very experimental too. I mean, so we've famously, semi-famously, within the people that know us, stopped selling our first uh, let's say 6 of our first 8 programs. Well, actually, none of our first like 10 programs that we made are available now. And that really upset some people for some reason. They want the old stuff instead of the stuff that we've done that's better. So we experiment and we change things a lot. We the biggest product mistake I think I made originally was that I named our first program Rings One because that implies that there's going to be a Rings Two. And it took us about 4 years to make it. And everyone kept asking us, when is Rings 2 coming out? When's Rings 2 coming out? And honestly, if we had just left the number off, we could have not had to make that. And we would have had a lot more peace of mind for like 4 years, right? Um,
Rings 2 is like the most savage program I think ever created as well.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It was too hard. Everyone wanted it. And again, in that program, we put in a couple of moves that honestly, I don't think most people should practice. And that's another reason we don't sell it anymore. But we put it in there because that's stuff that we felt was expected of a program like that at the time. And really like recreational athletes and fitness enthusiasts have no business trying to learn to do an iron cross. It's just makes no sense as a goal. No reason to ever practice that. There are many, many better ways to get very, very strong. So, I mean, yeah, we definitely made mistakes and we did things because they were expected. Um, and I don't know how things would have been different if we had not set ourselves up for that. I don't know what we might have done instead. But I do feel that after a while of that, what we found is that there's a lot of stuff that seems cool and people want to do, but it doesn't make sense for them or they're not ready for. And so when we really figured that out, like we really had the epiphany about what GMB needs to teach, like about 4 or 5 years into the company, right? So, I mean, I think that that's maybe an important thing to know is at the beginning, don't act like things are set in stone. I think it's important to keep your options open to know that you can change stuff, that you can throw things out, adopt new things, you can pivot, you can change your mind as you learn stuff because nobody is really that much of an expert when they're just starting out that they know the right answers for everything and or they know their market so well that they can have the instinct to have the perfect product on their first try.
Yeah, one thing I'd love to hear your advice on, Andy, is like Dan John has this quote, like it works so well, I stopped doing it. And then like, 2 years later, like, oh, I forgot, that was working really well. I got really good results. And I think it's very similar in business that like things are going well and you're selling programs, getting clients, all these things. Do you have advice for like keeping the focus when all of these bells and whistles are being thrown at you every day?
Yeah, Dan John is a good source of all kinds of wisdom on that, and it's so true. Jarlo, one of the other founders of GMB, he always talks about that too. Is that we have to repeat the stuff that works. We always have this tendency to look for something new, and then we forget to look back and notice what's done well. And I think that really, if there's an antidote at all, it's to set aside time. And I have to put this on my calendar as a recurring, like monthly or weekly event, but to set aside time, as cliche, to work on the business and not in the business, right? There's a lot of ways that you can go about this. There's courses on it. There's books about it. I have some things that I could recommend, but I mean, the main thing is to make time periodically to step back. And one of the things you should always ask yourself is like, okay, looking at the results we're getting right now, what's responsible for our successes? What's driving growth or what's failing to drive growth? But like, if you have new clients coming in, where are they coming from? Is that the same or different from previous months or years or whatever sort of period you're looking over? Uh, like being able to just note that. And if you could do a formal analysis if it's over a long time. Like I have years and years of spreadsheets of stuff, but if it's just a notebook where you write a couple pages every month on how things have been, that's still fine, because just the act of sitting down and reflecting, you're going to notice trends. And if you specifically look for what is driving the positive results, what is the main thing that's driving positive results? Ask yourself that question, and then you'll kind of get an idea of some of those things that were working so well that maybe you forgot to do. Like, oh, actually, I remember 3 months ago I was thinking about this and that worked great, and I haven't done it since. I should do it.
Yeah. And yeah, this is very helpful for myself personally. So do you find it is like simple stuff like the email and just every whatever you're doing calls to action and telling people about your programs and just hammering that every single month in a way? Or yeah, would love to hear like, is there any patterns over the last 14 years that you're like, yeah, this just hasn't changed. Like we just have to keep doing this.
Yeah, and I think that that's basically it. It's always fundamentals. I mean, it's same thing as with training too. Um, you have to do some sort of resistance exercise. You have to do some sort of, heart rate elevation. You have to do some sort of mobility. If you leave some part of that out, you're going to be like not getting the results that you want physically, right? So the same thing with business. Like you have to improve your product and your offer. You have to put that offer in front of people, right? And you also have to attract new people to you. So you always need to be like looking for leads. You always have to be filling the pipeline if you're doing sales, right? We sell digital products, so we always have to be trying to reach new people through, advertising or social media or something like that. The fundamentals are always the most important thing. I could try to get fancy with a lot of tactics, and through the years, like I've gotten bored and tried to reinvent the wheel any number of times, mostly because I wanted to feel smart. But what's actually worked is really just the fundamentals, like, sales funnels, solid calls to action, good marketing basics, copywriting, email. Everyone wanted to do, switch to sending texts instead of emails a few years ago. And, you know, that's great. Like sending people messages and Instagram and stuff like that works pretty well for us for some things. But the fact is that email is the most reliably scalable automated marketing channel on the planet. Has been since, you know, forever, and probably will be for quite a long time. So mastering email copywriting and just being consistent, you know, learning to explain why people should work with you in dozens of ways again and again and again, week after week, year after year, and find new ways to tell people that they should hire you. I mean, that's basically as fundamental as it gets, but it never stops working. That's the thing. It never stops working. It has never stopped working for 14 years. And actually, before GMB, for about 3 years, I was doing copywriting freelance. So for 17 years now, I've been doing email marketing. And every single year, somebody is talking about email is dead. Email doesn't work anymore. It's the email apocalypse. Like even just a couple months ago, Gmail and Yahoo Mail and something else, Microsoft, I think, changed the rules about email deliverability, and everyone was all upset. Here's the kicker. All of those things were already best practices. So
What do you
anyone
mean
that's been
by
doing
what do you mean
all
by
all
that?
of the all of the changes to the mass sending requirements to not be considered spam for Gmail, for example, the big changes that everyone's, oh, email marketing's not going to work anymore. No, these are all best practices anyway, like having your domain authenticate and stuff. I don't want to get into the weeds on
Oh
it,
yeah.
but
Yeah, I have to do
uh,
that, I remember.
right? But all of that stuff we had been doing for more than like for actually basically since the beginning, because it was all just, that was essential stuff. So learning how to do these things right, though, I think is really important. And you don't have to get overwhelmed with that in the beginning. You just have to start. But learning to do those fundamentals better and better and better will probably pay off for you more over time than learning the new hot tactic and then the next new hot tactic and then the next new hot tactic after that, you know?
Yeah, it's like so similar to training again, like gonna do all these fancy moves, but just building an exceptional foundation is the key. I don't know if I ever told you this, Andy, but like I think a lot of coaches, well, definitely a lot of coaches, just from conversations, um, and I think in general, people who start business, they feel a bit ick with marketing, and I don't want to sell people. And I was really like that, but it was actually your marketing that I was like, oh, this is great. Like I really liked the way I was being completely sold because I'm like a raving fan. But it was done in such just a really nice, I don't know how to explain it, but I didn't feel, sometimes it just feels like just not nice the way the person's trying to sell you a program, where I was like, here, this is excellent. I can't wait to get your program from you. So um, what like how has that changed over the years, and how have you developed that? Like it's like you're on the same, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's like tons of value, and like here's elements if you also want to go a bit deeper with us. Um,
Yeah.
how have you
Um,
refined that, or I'd love to you to just maybe, yeah, give some um advice on that for me personally, but I think for people listening as well.
sure. I mean, developing it's like taste, developing taste. If you want to be known among your friends as the person to go to find new music, right? What do you have to do? You have to listen to a ton of damn music. Right? So this is something that I try to listen to one new album every day, start to finish.
Now, yeah.
Yeah, I've been doing this for years. I love music and I love listening to music and I love finding new bands. And so a lot of people come to me when they want to find new music because they know that I do this. I'm always listening to it. So it's the same thing with marketing. And I completely get it that a lot of people feel gross about marketing. We've been told our whole lives that we're not, it's rude to ask favors of people. It's especially rude to talk about money with people you don't know. Um, I grew up hearing that salespeople were like the lowest scum on the planet. We'd walk into a store and, somebody getting paid like, I mean, this is a long time ago, so probably like $5 an hour to, mind a department store would come over and ask if they could help us because it's their job. They get fired if they don't do it. My father, damn salespeople, I hate him. Like dude's getting paid fine. I mean, I didn't understand that at the time. Now I know guy's getting paid like almost nothing, and his boss is on his back to ask people that when they come in the shop if they need help with anything, right? But some a lot of us grow up with that kind of idea that sales is bad. I had that. I never wanted to be a salesperson. I don't consider myself really a salesperson, but if you're in business And even if you're not, even if you're working for somebody, you have to be your own best advocate. But especially if you're in business, you don't get that paycheck unless you perform, right? You don't get paid unless you convince people that you're worth, that you're valuable to them. And the way to do that is marketing. Now, there are all kinds of ways to do marketing. You could do marketing well, you could do marketing poorly, you could do marketing classy, you could do marketing not classy. Uh, and some people do incredibly well with not classy marketing. But I always felt like I have my own sensibility and I've developed my taste as a marketer, my voice as a writer, as a copywriter through a lot of practice, right? Um, I got very lucky when I was just starting out that I got to write emails for a very popular blogger for a couple of years before GMB, and I got to see what worked by testing to a large audience. And we're talking like sending emails to like 100,000 people back in like 2008, 2009,
Oh,
you
wow.
know, and when you get a chance to do that, you learn from it, but you don't need a huge audience to do it, but you can learn faster when you have that. So in terms of like advice, the best things to do really are to one, curate your experience and get your develop your taste as a marketer. If you think that you see like slimy sales tactics that you don't like that make you feel icky, well, then what you should do to counter that is to look for the companies that you really do like. Like people talk about companies people talk about that they love. You know, you've got like Patagonia, Apple, Nike. These companies market like crazy. You think Patagonia doesn't market? Oh, Patagonia, they've got so much integrity, but I hate all these like salesy companies. Patagonia markets hard, brother. So if you like a company and you think that they're classy in the way they market and you think that their taste fits your sensibilities, well, then you should consume more of that marketing in, you know, like intentionally and think of what are they doing. Um, Find out who their CMO is and read the book that their CMO's absolutely written a book of any major company that you might happen to be a fan of. Like this is the kind of stuff that you can do and just sort of see how they think about stuff and how they present things because you can practice doing this and getting closer to the ideal rather than feeling like again you have to mimic what you see other people doing that doesn't suit you. So,
Mhm.
I mean, really, for me, it's a lot of I was a school teacher. I've been a teacher for a long time. I feel very comfortable trying to explain things in a way that is instructional and educational. So it was a very natural fit for us to do like content marketing is what it's called to create educational content and put it on the internet and then to market that content that then gets people to be interested in the programs. But it's not the only approach out there. So yeah, I definitely think people should probably find what suits them and what fits their personality. But yeah, it definitely think of it as like developing taste.
Yeah, that's I've can't remember who was saying that recently on a podcast, but like a lot of, like Tim Ferriss will say his whole thing is like people trust his taste or what he's into.
Hmm.
And obviously the guy's a probably one of the best marketers out there, but it doesn't ever feel salesy, but obviously he's selling tons to us. Um, so do you have specific industries or brands that you like you're on their newsletter or you're like, yeah, that's actually someone that I get huge inspiration from them.
I'm horrible at this now. Actually, I don't. I'm a horrible hypocrite. I sometimes, I've even had a podcast before. I'm doing this for a podcast. I don't listen to podcasts. I don't like them. I cannot stand listening to audio content. Sorry.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
I have friends that recommend podcasts to me all the time. I'm like, nah, not gonna listen. But emails are kind of the same. I don't actually sign up to email lists because what I get very distracted if I open my email and there's a lot of stuff in there and it's really bad for my productivity. Like I just won't get anything done because I'll be reading all the stuff and clicking the links and going uh and I mean if you're listening to this and you are subscribed to the GMB email, please do that. Read it, get distracted, click the links, go around the site, like waste all your time. Don't waste it. Spend all of your time learning about how amazing GMB is, please. But I cannot do this because I won't get anything done. So I don't subscribe to other newsletters. Uh, I kind of made a decision again a long time ago that the way we kind of do it is pretty good from a fundamental perspective. And so I don't feel like I have a lot to learn by looking at like trends in email sales or email marketing. Um, and I do also know a number of other professionals that are doing it at a very high level. So if there's something that is actually like really serious that I need to know about, I'll hear about it rather than seeing it happen in an inbox. So I think rather than so I'm maybe not the best person to ask about that, but I do think the thing is to look at brands that you like. And if it resonates with you, then you're probably going to find that there's something you can learn from that. It's more resonance than tactic.
Yep. When you were on the podcast like a year and a half ago, I think it was like around early 2022, and
Yeah.
I asked you for advice on where to put attention, like where to double down on if you were me, and you said short form content and Twitter, and then I waited like a year to go on do the short form content. And like it's worked really well now, but obviously a year after you recommended it. Um, what would you say now, looking at things, do you think would be good for like someone in my position or in general, like other GMB trainers, to focus on, like to really focus on heavily?
So I mean, it depends a lot on like how you do your business. I mean, for you specifically, I also think short form content is still huge. It's still great. There's a big opportunity. Um, there's big news about, maybe TikTok getting banned in the US or something. Either way, like I don't think that changes the fact that people really love short, catchy content. They always have. Uh, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, these are not going away, regardless. So that's still an opportunity. And it's always funny because people think, oh, well, it's not new anymore. It's too saturated. It'll never work. People have been saying that Instagram is too saturated since like 2016. You know, it's not. It's still a great time to start doing Instagram content. It's a great time to start doing YouTube Shorts. It's an amazing time to start making short form content and learning what resonates with people. The reason that short form is great is because it's easy and quick to make a lot of content and see what people resonate with and what you get feedback on, and then you can make more of that. This is like I was talking about, like building your taste and building your sensibilities by, you know, finding what works and what you enjoy, and where you can find that kind of Venn diagram of both of those things. Uh, with faster iteration is where you, I think, build your skill in that kind of thing really, really quickly, really effectively too. Um, Other thing that maybe is really good for trainers or personal trainers or people in fitness to consider is sort of the opposite of a social media strategy, is just thinking about like, okay, you know what you're good at and you know who you're best at helping. So then think about that person and think, well, what are they going to do after they work with you? Or what will they have done before they're ready to work with you? Right. Um, and then think about how you can position yourself to either profit by passing them on to that next thing, or to be better positioned to get referrals from whatever they do before, right? So that could be, making friends with all the physical therapists and, offering like post therapy, uh, PT or something, post therapy training or something like that. It could mean that you want to get in touch with all of the triathlon coaches, or all of the guys that work at bike shops that cater to specialty cyclists. Get in touch with those people. Beat the streets a little bit and make friends with the people that kind of gatekeep the things that people are doing before they need you. And that way you can start to get ideas for how you can get more referrals and get more word of mouth and get more leads coming in that way. Which anytime people talk about like a marketing channel being saturated, referrals are never saturated. People are always looking for the best advice to give to people that they work with. So if you can be the best advice for someone to give, that's never going to go out of style.
Yeah, that's so smart. I love the physio, like so the next step after the physio, because I think like the GMB system is a really great like next step. Um, but then you were saying also where are people going to go after they work with you? So what would be some examples of that?
Well, I mean, it really depends. So, for example, GMB doesn't teach, we don't teach acrobatics. We don't really teach too many specific skills because we're really about, uh, building the base and the general physical preparedness. GPP is basically what we do, right? So we don't, people ask us all the time, like, when are you going to make a martial arts program? When are you going to make a kettlebell program? When are you going to make a program for triathletes or for golfers? And the answer, well, the best program for golfers is still elements, buddy. Like,
Mm,
it's, but, but, okay, the huge opportunity for us, if we wanted to pursue this, would be to either co-create co-branded GMB golf or martial arts or whatever programs with other experts, for example. That
that's
would be a thing that
interesting.
we could do.
Yeah.
Now, but that takes a lot of work. So what we've
Mm,
done instead, in a limited degree, is we are good at handstands. We teach handstands, but teaching handstands takes a lot of nuance because you can't say how fast someone will learn to keep their balance or how fast they'll develop the motor control to correct their balance. Um, and the way we structure our programs, we've always just felt that there's too much individual variation to create a structured set program for handstands. So people have always asked us for a handstand program because for many years, we had the most popular handstand tutorial on the internet. I know now there's other much more popular resources, but we're very good at teaching it, but we just can't make a program that we are satisfied with for teaching it. So we just didn't. Um, but we had a lot of people asking us for it. So,
mm.
well, handstands are a skill that someone could do after they have like learned a lot of stuff from GMB, right? It's one expression it could do. So we partnered with my friend Emmett and his company, Handstand Factory. And when people
Ah,
come to our
okay.
handstand materials, we send them to Emmett. We refer those through an affiliate program and we make a little bit of money from the people that buy his program. And I can wholeheartedly recommend that because several GMB trainers have even gone to have taken his program. Our trainer Leah has been to his handstand week-long retreats like twice. Like I know
Oh,
it's
in
very high
Turkey.
quality. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
yeah, yeah.
can I can wholeheartedly recommend this thing as something that would be like, say, a next step or something that someone might do alongside GMB. Um, and so that's one way that you could look at doing that too. It doesn't mean that your services are not good enough anymore or no longer valid or useful for that person. It's just that if you're a trainer and someone, you know, is maybe you're just doing general population and people want to get in shape, right? Okay, now that they're in shape, what are they going to do? Well, I don't know. It depends on the person in the market and where you're at, but find out how you can help someone make better decisions about what they do with what you give them. And so for us, like sending people to Handstand Factory is a great win-win-win for everyone. Sending people to the ready state when they have like more physical therapy kind of related needs is a great win-win-win for everyone. Uh, that kind of stuff.
I love that way of thinking, and I think like everyone I know now, I think in most industries, but like obviously the fitness industry is what I know most, is like, oh, let's all just win together. Like you have this
Hmm.
kind of really high level crew of people like that you've just mentioned there, like Ready State, Handstand Factory, and mobility. I can't remember the name of the company, but Emmett is huge.
Mhm.
And then like Nerd Fitness, you guys, Josh Hillis, so it's not like you're all competing. It's like helping people together. And do you want to talk about
Right.
that a bit more? Because I think a lot of
Yeah.
the time people like to attack maybe other trainers or cut them down, and the people who were most successful are like supporting each other.
So I think this is a really unfortunate thing is that we feel like the people out there are competition. And some of them are actual jerks, and some of them should be cut down, and some of them should be laughed out of town, and some of them are terrible, bad people that you want to see lose. I'll admit I'm human. I'm not Buddha here. Like I want to see certain people lose because I dislike them. However, most people doing this stuff are actually pretty cool. Um, and most people are generally more right than they're wrong on most of the stuff they do, right? So yeah, it's just easier to be classy. And again, you'll find people that you do resonate with. Like so Nerd Fitness you mentioned is a great example because Steve started Nerd Fitness about 6 or 8 months before we started GMB, right? And so I don't remember when we first started talking over email or Twitter or something, but I mean, we've been friends for again like 13 years, I guess now, like for a very long time. And we still call each other up periodically and just like chat about stuff and like see how it's going. It's really interesting because so many people that we talk about this too. So many people that started then are not around anymore. And it's been great that we know each other because it feels like we've got this kind of fraternal bond from having just
Mhm.
like survived, but partly it's because we did help each other out. Um, we did support each other and share each other's stuff and help out because I think that that's important when you see somebody doing something cool is to just talk about how cool it is. Um, because there's like I said, so many people are doing good stuff. One of my favorite things is I used to be on Reddit in the body weight fitness subreddit. I would go in there and when it was a much smaller community, I would answer questions and help out. And one of the moderators was a guy named Stephen Lowe, and he had written this book
Mm.
called Overcoming Gravity. Um, and I remember I just sent him a message. He was one of the moderators of that subreddit. I sent him a message one day. I was like, hey man, I think we're supposed to be competitors or something, but I just wanted to say, like, I really enjoyed your book, and I think you do a great job of helping moderate this community. And he replied back, like, like a few minutes later, he's like, "Oh, GMB's great. I've checked out a lot of your content. I love this." And we were not best buddies, but we became friendly, and we started like sharing things and sharing each other's stuff. We did a little bit of collaboration on things. And he and Jarlo wrote a book together a few years ago about posture, which wouldn't have happened if I hadn't just sent a message to this random guy who was our competitor. So I think that there's a lot more opportunity than otherwise. Emmett from Handstand Factory, I think also I met in that subreddit. And he also we also chatted on there sometimes. And then years later, we actually have a bit of a business arrangement. But before
Mhm.
that, we were just two guys that were doing a lot of stuff, and we like each other's approach enough that we chatted and talked and kind of like came to respect each other. And I think that that's really the thing is the more you talk to other professionals that are doing things you resonate with, you're going to find that you share a lot of common ground, you develop a respect and a rapport. Ryan's great at this. Ryan talks to not all, but let's say maybe 80% of the top YouTubers that do mobility and body weight fitness stuff, Ryan is pretty friendly with and talks to all the time. You
Mm.
don't you don't know that because we're not like doing big collaborations, but we could at some point if it makes sense. Uh, you know, but we wouldn't have that option if Ryan wasn't really good at just like chatting people up and saying hi. And we've had a lot of good opportunities with things just by like being human. So
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, I could talk about this all day, but I mean the main thing is it's just like you said, winning together is just a much better attitude, and it's also just more fun. And it's more fun like to make friends with people that are doing cool stuff because when you open up YouTube you could look at like the videos on the homepage, you'd be like, oh geez, I hate that guy. Why is that guy so popular? Oh, he's not even that good. Or you'd be like, oh damn, my buddy's got 2 million views. Wow. Like,
Yeah,
which of those is
man.
more fun? I
Yeah.
like being friends with all those guys and ladies. You know, it's just way more rewarding to me when I see them, because I'm going to see them and they're successful anyway. I may as well enjoy that.
Yeah, that's such a great point. And like also just walk around any major city. It's not like there's a lack of people who need help with their health. Like it's, you
No.
know, I know like how do you actually feel with you've lived how long have you lived in Japan now?
Altogether about 12 years, 13 years. Yeah,
Are you shocked when you go back to the US? You're like, whoa,
absolutely.
like, yeah,
So there's two things. One is I'm like 5'6", which back in the 80s was average height for a US male. Now, not so much. However, it is about average height for a Japanese male. So in Japan, I'm not small. But when I go to the US, I'm a head shorter than almost every other grown man. Plus, everyone is big now. I mean, not everyone, but many people are very large, and that's a whole different conversation. I'm not saying it's bad to be overweight. I know a lot of very lovely people who are quite large, and there's a lot that goes into that. I am not the expert on weight loss, but anyway, it's still though to be somebody who is like you know 70 kilograms and 170 something centimeters tall, to be in the US, and I go like 3 4 times a year. Every time I get off the plane in like Chicago, Atlanta, or wherever, I'm like
yeah.
I feel like I'm surrounded by giants.
Yeah, it's really in particular because I've never been to Japan, but like from what everyone said, like there's no real issue with obesity, or at least there hasn't been. So it is just the environment I find fascinating, like the impact of the environment on people's health. But yeah, that's a big rabbit hole to go down. Um,
Yeah.
one of the things I'd like to touch on just before we wrap up, Andy, is like running a business is super stressful at times.
Hmm.
And you guys have had like huge staff all over the world. Like, what advice do you have for me and other people who are working for themselves to just, yeah, manage like mental health, stay kind of on track? Also, I'm kind of all over the place with this question, but
Sure.
one thing that was really helpful last time I talked to you as well was I was like, how do you manage all the noise? And you said, you wake up and you just slurp down Twitter and you just learn to surf. And I was like, that was actually so helpful to just like not be like, oh no, I'm not doing what the productivity guy said I should do. And like I was just like, oh yeah, it's not a big deal. Like it's as big a deal as you make it. So maybe you can touch on
Yeah.
that and just yeah, staying sane through all the noise.
So, yeah, it's a lot. And I mean, like mental health, productivity, and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not like a guru expert on this. I haven't written a book. I don't teach a 10-step method or anything. So, I mean, what do I know? I'm just happier than most of those people. Uh, and again, I know some of them, so I can say this pretty assuredly. Like, I think it's okay to consume social media. I think it's okay to drink beer and eat donuts. Which, as you know, I very openly drink beer and eat donuts quite often. But apparently, like if you are in the fitness industry, you can't show people that you eat junk food or something. That's, it's so weird, right? But then some people do, and it's part of their brand, and now they're very, very relatable because people are like, I like this guy. He actually eats cookies. And so I think part of it is just like finding what works for you. Like if you like Twitter and you like learn from it and enjoy spending time on there, like let yourself spend time on there. You don't have to like delay gratification on that until some other thing. If it gets out of hand, you might need to put some limits on it. But I think that's the main thing. If it's not hurting you, don't assume it's a problem. But in terms of business stress, what I find I'll be honest, like the thing that caused me the most business stress was when we felt like we had to grow the company. After a certain time, we were kind of established, we were quote unquote successful, we were very profitable, and then everyone's like, well, so what are your growth goals for, 2016, 2017, 2018? Growth goals? I'm like, I don't know. I was just enjoying doing my job and getting paid really well. I guess we need to grow. So we started thinking about growing more and making the company bigger. And oh, we need to hire more people. Oh, we need a full-time graphic designer. We need two. We need a video editor. We need a web developer. Oh, actually, we need three developers. Um, now we actually need a whole customer support team. We need a manager for this. We need copywriters. We need all these people. And we got to the point where we had like 28 people and like 10 contractors, and it was a lot to manage, and it was very stressful. Uh, I am not really a good manager, and I didn't really want to learn to be one because that's a whole skill set that's different from the things that I'm good at. Learning to be a manager means that I'm not able to apply my actual skills as like a marketer and an educator, right? Because I'm too busy trying to learn how to be a better manager and manage people. So a lot of the stuff that was stressful was feeling like I had to do a certain thing. We had to become a certain kind of company. We had to do this stuff because that's what you do, right? Well, if it helps anyone out there, you don't have to. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. You don't have to build a certain type of business. You don't have to offer one-on-one high dollar consultations if you don't want to. You can just teach group classes at a gym if you enjoy that. You can do whatever works for you, and you don't have to be stressed out feeling like you're not doing it right. Again, most of the people you see doing these things don't know any better than you do. So when we brought the company size down, I felt like I had more control over things again. And we're still not like the best company in the world, but it's a lot more fun. What we don't really talk about all the time is that at different times, Ryan and Jarlo and I, all three had different types and stages of burnout type issues where we were just so over having to do this uh, or do parts of it. And the thing is we all love like actually making the programs and helping our clients. But sometimes if my job is like having to have like 9 back-to-back one-on-one meetings, well, that I don't like. If Ryan's job becomes having to edit 40 videos a week, well, he's not going to like that. So of course, that's because we're doing things just because we feel like we have to. And I'll tell you a fact that no time where we've had to have 40 videos in a week has actually shown to make us grow any faster. So you probably don't need to do all that. So that's the thing. Like mental health wise, I think the biggest thing is to just make sure you're playing your own game with stuff and not doing what the social media or what your network tells you need to do. Set your own goals. Like you said earlier, like the Dan John thing, keeping the goal. Man, I mean, if I could just get that emblazoned on my retinas so that I can't not see it,
Yeah.
it would probably make me make better decisions.
Yeah, it's just I find these conversations so helpful for myself because Steve Camp said the same thing. He was like, yeah, it got to a point where I was just managing people all day and like I'm not good at that. And then he's basically said what you said. I went back to writing. That's what I'm good at.
Yeah, I know
That's how
Steve and I have had
that's how
this
I built.
conversation a few times. So yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
So it's like, yeah, that's super stress or super helpful because yeah, like, well, what's next? Well, I guess we better keep growing, because and then you stop doing the thing that made you successful in the first place.
It happens to a lot of people, and I've talked with a good number of founders that some of them are successful, sell the company, and then repeat the pattern or something. But pretty much everyone gets to a point where they feel like they're doing stuff they don't like to grow a business that they enjoyed better the year before.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense at all. Um, One last thing, Andy.
Sure.
because I'm conscious of time, is copywriting. What are some specific words or themes that you feel just are kind of timeless for like that really gets results
For
that
copy.
hit for copy? Yeah.
Okay. So what I would suggest is there's a book that's really amazing called Marketing to Mind States. And I would suggest looking at that and finding which mind state you probably resonates most. There's usually like two or three that resonate the most with your target market. And that will help you. Like some people, there's two primary orientations. There's toward pleasure or away from pain. Some people, you can tell their personality is like they're avoiding injury, uh avoiding the disappointment of buying something and it not being good enough, avoiding something. Some people have an avoidant tendency. Some people are like, oh, I want to get this, or I want to achieve that, or so just knowing that about your market, like for fitness, are they about getting stronger or are they about avoiding injury? Just knowing that much will already give you a way that you should, if they're about performance, getting stronger, growth orientation, well, then you always want your copy to be about gaining, achieving, getting, practicing, developing, right? All of that. If they're the other way, then all of that talk, every time you talk about like going up to the next level of performance, they're gonna be like, I don't know, sounds risky.
That's very
So
helpful. Yeah.
yeah, I think that that's really a good thing is to just sort of know their motivation. And, then again, also just talk to people like a human, short sentences. Don't write long essays if you expect people to actually read it. I love long form content, but I also know like my statistics, my, digital tracking shows that people respond better to short sentences and short paragraphs. It's just reality. You can say people's attention spans aren't what they people are so dumb now. Well, I mean, you can get upset about it, or you can just like accept reality and learn to write well in short sentences.
Yeah, I heard a quote recently. It's like people's attention spans aren't shorter, their expectations are way higher now. I thought that that was actually a really nice reframe as well, because like you've got so much amazing stimulation in your environment now as well.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
what's GMB's audience? Is it away from pain or towards pleasure?
We have a little bit of both actually, but GMB as a brand in general has always been about gaining autonomy and training so that you can do more of the things you enjoy doing as long as possible. However, there is also the understanding that getting injured takes you out of the game. And so uh, avoiding stupidity is always a good thing. So a baseline of general safety is always something that's sort of there. So it's
Cool.
kind of tough. Yeah. Uh, they're not necessarily mutually exclusive, but if I have to choose when I'm talking about something, in so we have a couple of products that are specifically more towards the avoidance side. And for those only, I use more of that language. But for everything else, I'm very conscious to not use the pain avoidant kind of language.
Okay, very good. Last question, Andy. What's something
Sure.
you've changed your mind on recently?
Consistency. So everyone knows consistency is really important. I used to say that like consistency is one of the most important things, just doing simple things consistently again and again, especially for health and fitness. But what I realized over the last year is that consistency actually becomes a barrier for some people. And so I think it's completely okay to be inconsistent as long as you do take actions when you can. Because I think a lot of people are like, oh, I can't do this consistently, so I'm just going to wait until after the holidays, right? Oh, I can't, I'm busy, so I'm not going to be able to work out consistently, so I'm just going to wait until after this project. Well, or you could just do a workout right now and another one in like 4 or 5 days next time you get a chance, and then you'll have two workouts done in the time that you would normally just be waiting, right? So I think consistency is good if you can pull it off, but I think most people can't pull it off right now. So I reverse my trend. I think I don't really push consistency anymore. I just feel like people should do what they can.
Yeah, I guess it gets people started then because it's one less roadblock. Oh, the next 2 weeks are going to be crazy, but I've got 10 minutes now. So yeah, just do something.
Yep.
Awesome, mate. That was so helpful for me. I love just picking your brain on all things business and marketing. Where can people learn more about you or deep dive more into you or GMB stuff?
Me, Andy.xxx. That's all my stuff. It is
Oh, is
not
that like,
not actually saucy, but yeah, that's where you can find me on the internet, and GMB at gmb.io. And that's all our stuff. And you should go there and you should buy Elements and you should do it. It will
yeah,
change your life.
I second that. Elements is just phenomenal. So yeah, definitely get Elements as well. Awesome, Andy. Really appreciate your time today, mate.
Thanks, Connor.